We are streaming. Let's get this going. So in the past, when I've been streaming on this, I don't know if anybody's joined me, I just tweeted out a second ago. So when I've been streaming this stuff, I've been working on this project called Train Remote. But actually, I have switched over to do a little bit of work on, it's another Vue.js and Laravel application. This one is called Suggestive. And this is what I've been working on for the last couple days, so I figured I would spend my time in this right now. So Suggestive I did in this way. I've really been enjoying doing application development right now, which is I wrote the entire thing as acceptance tests up front. Well, so first of all, I wrote out like a kind of a semi-spec kind of, whoa, come on, Sublime Text. There we go. Spec kind of situation. So I basically wrote out the features in a Markdown document, and I just said, here's the things I want to be able to do. And I wrote core versus non-core. Core meaning I feel comfortable moving into actually writing a front end once core is done. So I didn't want to touch the front end, touch the JavaScript and like that until I had this done. So I wrote out these features and just basically tried to make them kind of single feature enough that I could write a single test that tested this is doable, this is doable, this is doable, this is doable. This one, authenticate via GitHub, is not quite a single test, and so I just would write an acceptance test for each of these. And then I would write the code to make it green, and then I finished all of them. So you can see these tests happening, and I would say something like, so let's actually open this one up. I would say something like owner can archive it. Actually, I guess I checked that off, so it must be done. So let's go there. Archive a topic is done. So I would write something that said rejected. There we go. Test admins can flag topics as rejected. And so I would write out the test for that. I would actually, piece by piece, I'd do this, and it would be like, oh, well, we don't have an admin. So I'd go to the model factory, and then I'd make an admin type. And then it would be like, oh, we don't have a topic class. And so I'd then create a topic class. And then I'd be like, well, there's no migration for it. Then I'd create the migration. And then I'd be like, well, I need to be able to set the status on it. And so then I'd have to add a status. So piece by piece, I'd basically just write these tests until they actually turn green and use that way of basically writing the application. And so at that point, I then have tests that cover all the basic foundations of how this thing can work. And the kind of the idea behind this thing is for a podcast, and so we're using the Laravel podcast as an example, you can log into a website and you can suggest a topic to be talked about, and people can vote the topics up if they want in a kind of like a Reddit or Dig style. And then the podcast administrators can either accept the topic and say, yes, we're going to talk about it. They can reject it. They can mark it as duplicates, or they can say, yes, we talked about this one and we talked about it in this particular episode. So it's just facilitating kind of topic suggestion for podcast creators and other creatives, but podcast creators are kind of the target. So you can do all the basic things. We basically have the models that are the topic and the user and a vote. Which is basically the pivot between the topic and the user. So a user can vote for a topic. And everything's just really simple right here. I mean, users basically have votes, topics, and they can be is_admin. An admin is either an owner or an admin. A topic has a couple different flags that we've kind of stored as constants here, and then a title, description, status. I won't walk through all these with you. And then sorry, I just realized I don't have chat showing. Hello. All right. Yeah, I figured if I did one in the morning, my time, some of the folks overseas might actually be able to do it. So, so I have all that, and then so everything is API. You notice this acceptance testing is just checking a REST API. So if we go to the controllers, we'll go to the routes real quick first. We've got basically the dashboard, which is serving up the view. We've got the API here, which is basically a resource for topics, and then a couple extras here. You can post a vote, or you can patch a topic, patch is just an update where you're only updating part of it. And then you got the authentication, and the authentication right now is just a director and then a callback, so like a send out and a callback for GitHub, and a send out and a callback for Twitter. You got a unique controller for Twitter OAuth and for GitHub OAuth, rather than cramming all those into a single controller, like a single auth controller. So the Twitter OAuth controller basically handles its own redirect provider, it handles its own provider callback, and then both of them have a find or create user, so that when you come back authenticated with GitHub or Twitter, it either finds your existing user and returns it, or it actually creates a user for that. And if you've ever read my blog post about, where is it, Matt Stauffer, Socialite, you can see this is how I did it with GitHub. I just realized I didn't capitalize the H in GitHub, and Adam is going to kill me, Adam Wyler. So this basically shows you how I did that authentication. So if you basically do this exact same blog post for Twitter, it's the exact same thing that I did, just duplicated it. And so it's really simple stuff. And in the user migration, I don't know if I can zoom out on, yeah, you've got basically the Twitter ID and the GitHub ID. They're both nullable, and there's probably some way to constrain that, you know, it's one or the other, like in the model. But right now it doesn't matter because you're literally not capable of creating a user within the application other than via these. So you're either going to come back with a Twitter ID or GitHub ID, or it won't function. So we've just got these things, basically this REST API that just says, you know, create a topic, you know, patch it to make the status rejected, and then go to the list page, you know, with this particular filter and ensure that you see it there, and go to the other list page and see it's not there. And it just piece by piece just proved out that you can do all the functionality and behavior with topics that we wanted. Well, that's good, right? I guess. I mean, I read it. That's why I write this blog post. This is not even for all you people. It's just for me so that I can remember how to do it later. So, all right, so that's the basics of what we have going on there. So let's go in and let's log in. So you log in with GitHub, and you see all the topics that have been suggested. You can see I've already voted this one up. You can suggest a new topic, talk about something great. Here's our description. We suggest it, and now it's there. And the problem we're going to be addressing today is the fact that if you just suggested the topic, hey, what's up, Richard? See, I told you I would get the overseas focus if I tried it earlier in the morning. So if you hit this button, and I'll actually refresh real quick so you can see. If you hit this button, normally it does that little animation, which I can show you guys how I did that in a second, and then the check, and then it turns gray, and then you see the number 1. So this is the total count of votes, right? But if you suggest a topic, so we have not reloaded the page, right? We're on a live page. If you hit the up arrow, it doesn't change this. So whatever it is that's doing this does not work. Now let's refresh. You can see it did actually functionally submit my vote, but whatever it is that's changing this to gray and a check did not function correctly on the same page load. So the other question is, if somebody just suggested a topic, should they probably, you know, have a logged vote on that topic by default because they suggested it, so of course they voted for it? Probably. So a few things about the Vue structure. I used Vue Router for the first time here, and it's brilliant. I hate single-page apps, and I love single-page apps with Vue Router. It's really, really cool. So let me show you how that works real quick. So essentially, you pull in the Vue Router. You set all your options, all that kind of stuff. You bring in components, and each component is basically a page that you're routing to. And this is really simple. There's much more complicated ones. And you instantiate a router, and then you just map routes to components. And there's more options, and you can nest them. You can do much more complex stuff. I haven't needed that for this one yet. But it's so simple to basically just say, when you go to this route, show this dashboard in the Vue, you know, spot. Go to this route. Yes, this source code's already up already. It's GitHub, Matt Stauffer, Suggestive. So you can see everything here. You can follow along. I even made a fun little logo. This demo right here is clearly, it's way out of date. I need to update a new one. And you can add in issues and pull request things and everything. Yeah, it's stupid simple. Like, if you've ever used Angular and then you see this, you're like, never going back ever again. So yeah, so this, and you can see I'm using the hashbang way of doing it. Later I'll switch to the one where it's doing rewrites, but you have to set a particular Nginx config or Apache config to get the rewrites. You can actually get the rewrites for free, meaning instead of, so you see here, if you turn off the hashbang configuration, which is just a single flag, you'd be able to be here, no problem. The problem is, if you refresh this, it's not going to work unless you set up the specific routing config, which I haven't done yet. So that's why I'm using the hashbang version right now. But yeah, so basically what I did in my main home.blade.php is I basically said, right here's the router view. This is the place that's going to be replaced depending on which page we're on. Yeah, Angular is not my favorite. So we got a v-link here, and basically what this is doing is ahref equals current route, and then it does the hash banging in here. And so to suggest topic, this is going to take you here. And what is being replaced is this kind of slot right here. This is the spot where the component that you're passing in here is going to be placed into. And so as we're navigating around, all it's doing is just taking this router view spot and passing in the content of these components. And because I'm using Vueify, you can just return the same layout for each route. I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, you mean do like a universal like fallback for home.blade.php? Yeah, you mean, yeah, and it's a possible way to do it. It feels hacky to do that, but I don't know, maybe that's a good way to do it in code rather than doing it in the rewrite. So, and I would have to do it as a fall, oop, didn't want to print here. I have to do as a fall, gosh, get out of here. Fallback, so that all the rest of these routes actually functioned. But yeah, I think it's a good idea. But right now I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to stay in hashbang. So, all right, so there's that, and that's getting passed in the contents of these components. I'm doing a thing here. I would love for somebody to tell me if there's a more Vue-y way to do this switch. So basically what we're doing right now is if the user's an admin, give them the admin dashboard, else give them the user dashboard. So there's two things here. One of them is I'm not sure if this is the more appropriate way to do it. I mean, and one thing you could do is just set, include the admin dashboard and the user dashboard, and then decide which one you're passing it in based on this flag. Some folks also asked me about, well, what about if somebody just goes in and hacks this? So this suggestive thing right here is, it's just this, right? So they could easily just go in and change this, and in theory at least. So the thing is, first of all, I'm interested in seeing if there's a better way to pass this in. So for example, if you made it like a the value of admin getting pulled in via like a secure route so that they couldn't hack it or something like that. But I feel like they could get around any of that. So the main thing I'm doing right now is I'm just not relying on this for any security. So anything that I put behind is admin, I'm fine if a normal user sees what the admin dashboard template looks like, but then when they actually try to, when their app actually tries to go to the API and pull that data, it's going to be like, whoa, you can't have all this admin data because you're not an authenticated admin user. So I'm relying on the security happening at the API level, not the JavaScript level. And that's kind of my approach in general. If there's ever anything I want to hide from the user, I don't do it in JavaScript because I just feel like even if I don't know how they would hack it, I just think that front end, hey Dan, yeah, I'm in Dan's office right now, so he literally is right behind me. I would just say that anything that can happen, anything that can happen in the JavaScript layer, the front end, I trust it to be hackable, and so I just don't consider that to be a safe thing. Minify Vue stuff, you can minify out the wazoo without breaking stuff. Yep, totally. I don't know what you've been doing wrong. Don't remember, if anybody who doesn't know, I'm not an expert. I am learning this as I go. So if you see something here that's different than what you've been doing, it's likely I'm just doing it wrong, or it's just as likely that I'm doing it wrong as it is that you're doing it wrong. So start there. So ask questions if you see something that doesn't look like what you're expecting. Okay, so the only other things that are going on here is we're setting topics, because topics is kind of the core concept here. And when it creates it, it's using Vue Resource to get the topic and then just passing that data in. So that's the basics of it, and then it starts the app. I don't know what that means. I'm just going to keep developing. Oh, and also, I was going to pull in Font Awesome, and we've been talking about SVG icons, and I thought they were actually still in a place where it's a huge pain to work. Oh yeah, I thought it was a huge pain to work with. And then apparently it's not anymore. Apparently you can work with SVGs pretty well. So I went to, I think it was IcoMoon, and I just grabbed a couple icons that I liked. Where did I think I went to the app, yeah. Grabbed a couple icons that I liked. This is a polling app, needs more. And so you just basically grab a couple and you're like, hey, I want to use these. You generate it. And then you can choose the color. You can set preferences. You can choose like all these different preferences about it, what color you want it to generate in. And then you download it. It gives you an example thing. And it just generated inline. You can do it with all these different things, PNGs, fonts. I just generated an inline SVG. And so there's literally just an SVG definition in the head. And then they give you exactly what it looks like to use those SVGs. And so you can see here. Nope. That might gosh, there's not enough space here. That's what the SVG usage looks like. And so, you can style it just like anything else. So it's a little more work than using Font Awesome or something like that, but it's pretty great, pretty lightweight, especially now that people are having blockers that block icon fonts and stuff like that. So, okay, so essentially you have suggested topics for your thing, and so there's two pieces to do next, but I have a pretty small amount of time left right now. So I think the next thing for us to do is just figure this little bug that we're running into here, which is when I vote on something I just suggested before I page refreshed, we're not getting the little animation. So I want to figure out why. I actually have no idea why, so we can all discover it together. And for those who just showed up, if I suggest it and then refresh the page, the animation works fine, but it's only when it's a fresh one that it's a problem. So let's take a look at what what's actually going on there. Come on. Why can't I shrink this down? Anybody? There? No? Shouldn't there be like a little handle here so I can shrink this thing down? No? There we go. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, we can do that. Okay, so this has this expand transition, expand transition. So what's going on here basically is you've got two SVGs, one for the arrow and one for the check mark. The one for the arrow is showing based on, oh, that might actually be what it is. So the one for the, let's see, this is going to be user dashboard.view. Typing is hard. So we've got the two votes. Here we go. Okay, got our two SVGs, and we've got a view show based on topic.user voted for. So my guess is that that's not coming back correctly. Demo GIFs I use LiceCap. Apparently there's better tools, so I need to check them out, but this is the one I've been using for ages. So I don't think it is. I think it probably has more to do with the what the value of topic.user voted for is. So there's probably really good ways to sniff it using the ViewDev tool. So let's try that. Normally what I would do is literally just echo it out to see if it's different than what I'm anticipating. But let's take a look at our topics. Let's go to our last topic, which I believe is this one. Oh, see, that's what it is. The return, when it's getting set after being added, it actually doesn't have a user voted for value on it, and so that's probably the problem. So let's take a look at the, let's undo that. So that's going to be the suggest topic.view component, and when it returns it, so it's pushing this into the array, it's not actually returning the user.voted for. So the first thing you can do is just say user voted for is false, right? But it's interesting because anytime you change the return that's coming back, it's going to be that problem. So it makes me wonder if instead we should just be returning the data that we get back. Also, what happened to the indentation there? Function data. That looks like it's indented. It is indented wrong, but I don't. It's wrapping weird, so it's. Oh, okay. That's what it is. It's just weird wrapping. Okay. But it makes me think, rather than doing this, should we just be pushing the data that comes back from the... Let's just try that, because the data that comes back from the add topic should be the same as basically what the structure of one of them is. Oh, also worth knowing, so for the data, I'm not using the fractal or any kind of transformer. I'm literally just have an API object. I've started doing this recently that basically takes a topic eloquent object, and then it basically provides a toArray and a toJSON, and this is the transformer. And it's just a very simple transformer object that doesn't rely on something like fractal. And so it just kind of, just in my controllers, I just say anytime I'm going to return one, I make a new API topic, an API object topic, pass the eloquent model in, and then when it gets returned by the kind of the native JSON casting for Laravel, it runs toJSON on it. And then this is what the shape of it looks like. So you have more control, and it's a nice transformer shape. The only thing is if you're not used to it. Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm only ever going to use something like Fractal or any other package that kind of adds a layer of abstraction if I feel like writing it by hand is too repetitive, or if I'm missing kind of some security concerns or some other expectations that, like of make sure you handle this and handle that and handle that and the other. So it's the same reason why I don't use jQuery unless I have to. jQuery provides really, really fantastic tools, but if you can write what you need in vanilla JavaScript, don't use jQuery for it. So that's kind of my approach to programming is, like, I'm going to write it myself until I find a pain point. It's not the not invented here thing. I mean, I use frameworks and stuff, but unless I hit a point where I'm like, oh, using a package would be better, I'm going to write it myself. So here, this is fine. There's no reason to use something like Fractal here. However, I may very quickly get to a point where I'm like, you know what, this is overly complex. Then I'll add Fractal. I have no problem with adding it, but I'm not going to add it until I go get to a pain point, right? So it is a little complex. It's a little bit big, but more it's just kind of like, let's be simple and explicit until we hit a pain point. I haven't hit a pain point, so I'm going to keep this one. Okay, so back to where we were. So instead of pushing a manually constructed JavaScript object, we're just going to push the actual data we're getting back, because the data we get back from this topics add controller, let's actually just go take a look at it, API topics controller. So when you store it, it's just returning, here you go, see? It's a new API topic, so that's the thing we just looked at, with the Eloquent model passed in. So it's the exact same shape as the list page, the index page should be up here, because just like these index pages, just returning a new API topic for each one. So it should be the same shape of what this topics array is already composed of. So we should be able to push that directly in, and it should resolve this problem we're running into. So let's try it. Oh, you know what? I don't have Gulp Watch. Oh, I do have it running. Okay, cool. So let's suggest a topic. You like my my random typing here? So hopefully, theoretically, this should work now. Haha, look at us. We solved it together. Go team. And if you're following along with this project, even when I'm not able to do it on Twitch, you will find that I'm trying to do very, very, very informative and incremental commits messages so that folks can kind of see what I'm doing, even if I'm not twitching it all the time. So I'm going to, maybe be a little more, what's the word? There's a word. It's a good word. I can't think of it. Smaller commits, basically. So we'll just say, after suggesting a topic, push the API response back to the topics array. Cool. All right, so apply face and roll. I don't know what that means, but hi, I didn't say hi before. So the next thing, the next big piece kind of that's missing here is that, so people can suggest topics. You can't unvote. I don't particularly care about that, to be honest, that you can't unvote at the moment. I'm more interested in getting something that's, I'm trying to get something that's particularly useful, for us to use for our podcast right out of the box and then iterate from there. And so what I'm trying to look at is, if I were actually to use this today, what things would get in the way of me actually being able to use it for the podcast today. And I think as I look at it, the most helpful thing would be the ability for an administrator to log in and to select that, hey, we're going to talk about these. So when we're planning for a podcast and I go on Twitter and I say, hey, who has some ideas? When a good idea comes forward, I will copy it and then I'll type it into Trello. I've got a board in Trello and it says, here's the topics we're going to talk about. And once we're done talking with them, I move them to here's the ones we talked about already kind of thing. So the most helpful thing right now would be adding the concept of an administrative login, which is interesting because it comes up with another concept that we need to deal here, which is what does it look like for this to... Currently, I was planning this to be a thing that you install on your own machine. And then some friends were like, hey, I'd love to use that on my non-tech podcast. And I went, oh, this probably needs to be a software as a service. So I kind of want to wait on converting it to a, thank you, to a software as a service because I feel like it's going to take a while to kind of restructure the authentication to be based around multiple people using it, logging in. So I kind of want to wait on that. So I think the next step probably would be just to allow this single install for the Laravel podcast to have administrators. So let's real quick just kind of look at what would the shape of the administrator dashboard look like before we even actually build out that code. And I only got a couple of minutes left, so apologies, I'm going to stop in the middle of this. Well, the shape for starters would look like returning that this person is an admin, right? So what does admin definition mean? There's a string field called role. And let's go to that, go to the suggestive database, and we'll just set, you see I've got my Twitter user and my GitHub user. So where's my role? All right, role, these are both users. That's the default. So I don't know which one we're logged in right now, so let's just set both of them to admin. And we should get a different dashboard now. Here you go. I am the admin dashboard. So we got to think now about what does the actual shape of this thing look like. The nice thing about working with it in Vue is that I've already, and with those acceptance tested things, is I can look at my tests to see what was I expecting this admin user to do, because admin topic test basically shows you all the things that I was anticipating the admin user to be able to do. I want them to be able to look at the unflagged topics and then flag them. What are the flags? Accepted is a flag, rejected is a tag or flag, duplicate is a flag, and archived, which I think means we've already done this one as a flag, or it's a toggle, I think, on the topic. So essentially the functionality that I was imagining the admin being able to do here is to see all of them filtered by certain flags, and then be able to do things to them. And so you got something like, where is this? Test it can flag a topic. So they need to be able to go to any unflagged topic and then flag it as accepted, rejected, or duplicate, or archived. So let's just start there. We need to list out all the topics. We need to list out all of the unflagged topics and then allow them to perform certain actions, which is basically flag them as something else. So first we want to do is say, well, do we have the structure anywhere of listing out a whole bunch of topics? Well, yes, we do. So my guess is, sorry, I will put it up to YouTube as always. We probably will copy this for each right here, and then probably end up wanting to, wait, what is this? Oh, right, okay. Probably want to turn this into a component, like a topics list component. I'm not exactly sure because I want the topics list to look different on the user dashboard. Oh, I can't go back to it. I want the topics list to look different in the user dashboard than I do. I want it to look on the admin dashboard, so I don't know exactly what extracting it's going to look like. Are you logging in before using the router? I'm not sure what you mean. The Vue router only gets pulled up on home.blade.php right there, and this page, this home.blade.php, is loaded on a route that is protected by the Laravel middleware. So is admin will be false in your layout. Yeah, you can't even get here. That doesn't even matter. So false. Routing Laravel. Okay. Yeah, John, I covered that earlier, so you can go take. And for anyone who just showed up, the code's all online. Right there. So, okay. So time. Let's get back to what we're talking about here. So I wanted to be able to. So for now, I'm going to just kind of copy it, and I know that we're going to. So this is a moment, we were talking about abstraction and premature abstraction. This is a moment where I could decide definitively that I'm going to make an abstraction and I'm going to extract a component and all that kind of stuff. The thing is, I don't know right now what the UI is going to look like. So I can either go write it up on a whiteboard, or I can just build it. And in this particular app, I'm just building it. So I'm just going to build the admin dashboard and figure out what it looks like, and then I will know how much is shared between the two. I don't want to decide early. That's what I used to do. I decide early, oh, well, they're both lists of topics, so we should make it a component, we should duplicate it, or we should abstract it. And then you end up figuring out that there's only like 25% actual shared view between the two. And so you've got all this weird conditional logic. So rather, I'm just going to copy this, I'm going to paste it in the admin dashboard, and later we will know, is there actually enough shared code that it makes it worth then extracting kind of some shared components out of there? And I think it's likely it's actually not going to be as much shared as we think. But let's take a look. So let's go to the admin dashboard and get rid of this crap. And I'm guessing I need to copy some of this. Yep, it needs to sync up the props. And we won't worry about vote for right now. I'm sure at some point we'll need to allow admins to vote for. Well, actually, I don't know if we do. So that means we'll probably at least need to go to the admin dashboard and get rid of the vote for. So yeah, so already this whole vote for button kind of just turns into nothing but just a count of users or of votes. So let's just, for now, just drop this thing entirely in the admin dashboard. So let's see what we got here. Great, so we've got a count over there. Whoa, how'd that get so big? What happened? Oh, some of these styles probably need to be extracted because it's some of these styles that I kept on the user dashboard. We're now going to actually need to put that app.scss. Yeah, like vote count and the customizations that I did in topic title and the panel and everything like that. We'll need to normalize, or not normalize, extract those. Thank you. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but hi. So for now, again, short on time, let's just copy it over and leave a note that we copied this so that later, if it ends up staying the same, we can extract. Copied from user dashboard, consider extracting to .ss. Let's see what else. Okay, and then the same thing for this vote count. And I'm pretty sure vote count will look actually very different on this page, so I'm not worried about extracting it because it's not meant to tuck up underneath a vote button because they're not going to get a vote button. So just do a little bit of stuff here. Won't worry too much about the styles right now. Yeah, well, I'm almost out of minutes. I think I have a meeting coming up. I thought it was at 10:30, but I guess it's not yet. So I'm just going to keep going until somebody direct messaged me and said, hey, where are you? I've got to get rid of that margin top. Change the padding to be consistent. There we go, that's good enough. This is how many votes we've got. Okay, so these are our topics. And so what we said in our test was we want not to see all the topics, but to see the unflagged topics, which means we already need to be filtering it. So there's two ways to do it. We could pull in a different list of topics, because right now it's just getting topics from the parent, or we could filter it in JavaScript. My gut says since we already have it, why not just filter this one? But the whole concept of that API call in the test showing that they could get just the unflagged ones from the API makes me think maybe it's wiser to pull it fresh here. So this is actually really interesting. For now, I'm going to do a separate API call just to see if there's any reason to do that. But we may end up just saying basically like a computed property that says something like, because actually you couldn't do that, because right now the API object, so API objects for topic, doesn't actually tell us its status. We'll probably need to add that. But right now we don't even actually have the ability to get its status off of here. I'm not running on Homestead. I'm running this just directly on the so I've got MySQL and PHP and everything installed via Homestead or Homebrew. Yeah. And let's see. So yeah, so I actually couldn't filter it in JavaScript down to just the unflagged topics unless I would add a property here. We may do that, but again, I don't want to do that just for the sake of this when I have a route that's ready for it. So let us. No, I have not done any tests on my Vue components. I need to learn that, but right now I'm just trying to get comfortable with Vue in general. So, all right, I need to stop and think for a second. App.js, where is the place where I'm going to... So we're getting all our topics here. So I've got to figure out what is the structure of us pulling in these unflagged topics. Am I just going to pull it here and then start passing it into all of them? Or since I only care about it for that one component, do I just pull it in? Let's just pull it into this component right now, and then go from there. So let's go to our admin topic test and see what the URL is. It's API topics $unflagged equals true. So that's what we actually want. As you can see, the API is being set. We basically want to do it like that. So unflagged topics. What happened if you have JavaScript turned off? The app probably just doesn't work at all. That's my guess. Not back in the old days of what was it? No script. Turn on JavaScript, bro. I think that's what we've seen. Okay, so we're pulling in topics. I actually don't think we need to pull in topics. So let's just actually do a data object of unflagged topics. And it's just going to be an empty array right now. And then we are going to pull this in, and we're going to get the unflagged topics, and we're set it to data. And then this is going to be iterating not over topics, but unflagged topics. And that should be it. Let's take a look. We didn't get anything. So, okay, here we go. Data should be a function. Oh, right, because it's a component, so data needs to be a... if anyone's not familiar, this is because if you pass objects around, it's going to be the same object. So if you've got multiple instances of this object, or this component, then they would be accessing this same property. So by setting data to be the equivalent of running a function, that makes it ability to spin up a new data instance for each new component. I don't know what rip app means. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Error topics.length, because it's not topics.length, it's unflagged topics.length. Unflagged topics.length. No topics yet. No unflagged topics. Okay, cool. So I'm not sure what you mean return. You might have been talking about back when I was creating this. Yeah. So what we did was, instead of returning this object, which now would be the same object everywhere, we're returning a new object that's shaped like this, so that each component will uniquely get a data object that's shaped like this. So this is all of our unflagged topics because none of them have been flagged. So what are the behaviors we want the admin user to be able to do? Well, we want to be able to flag them as accepted, rejected, or duplicate. Oh, rest in peace. Yes, the app does. You have no JavaScript app if there's no JavaScript turned on in your browser. So we want to be able to flag it as three things: accepted, rejected, or duplicate. So for right now, let's just put a button under the voter and kind of see where that takes us. Of course, that's not where we want it in the end, but since I'm prototyping in the browser, I don't actually have a plan yet for what those buttons are going to look like. So let's just accept, reject, mark as duplicate. That's beautiful. So these are going to be accept topic, reject topic. So we have three methods that we're going to need to be able to do. You were trolling along. Yes, you are. How's your doc? Every single time somebody asks me about, yeah, I'm definitely not a gamer. I don't know why you're saying that, but I'm definitely not a gamer. The doc things, just Google lifehacker spaces doc and you'll find it. Okay, cool. So, these are methods that I've just defined need to be available. So let's do our methods. And we just said accept topic. Here it does that. And so these are the things we basically need to make functional now. I don't like the fact that it's verb topic, mark top as duplicate. So I probably will end up changing. Maybe they might be mark top as accepted, or I'd really like a way to say duplicate topic, that it was a verb, but clearly duplicate topic is not what we're doing here. So what are we doing here? Well, we're going to be patching, right? And so let's go look at our tests. This is why it's great to have these tests, because what do we want to do? We want to make sure admin can flag a topic as accepted. What do? We patch to API topics topic ID with status accepted. That's it. So that test just taught me how to do it. So let's do a patch here. Patch to that topic ID. And then we're going to patch this data in, and then we're going to do this with the response. So what's the data? It was status. Oh man, JavaScript and PHP are not the same language. And then it was accepted. I think that's what it was. Saying rip is Congo. Yeah. Cool. Good to know. I think if you had done RIP, I would have gotten it like capitals, but it was the rip that made me unsure. Okay, status accepted. So let's just try it out and see what happens. This is the first one, which is talk. Well, let's talk about something great, because that's unique and noticeable. and we're going to hit accept, and accept topic is not a function. Okay. Methods, accept topic, function. Vue Resource, it's the same kind of thing for me. It's like I don't extract something and abstract something until I reach a pain point. And right now, I'm fine. If I find that there's a certain thing I'm going to start calling over and over, then I will probably extract it to a service. But you don't extract it to a service until you feel the pain of, leave it where it is until you need to move it somewhere. That's basically the thing. Don't abstract it until you find the pain of not having it being extracted. This is not against the rules. They recently added a creative thing just for people doing stuff like this. Livecoding.tv looks interesting. They had a massive meltdown recently and revealed basically a large amount of immaturity and just kind of not treating people with respect. So I'm not going to work with them. Okay. So why did we? So we just got a thing that said method accept topic is not set in the scope. So somebody's going to look at this and say, oh yeah, it's because you were forgetting about this. So folks, just tell me what happened here. Is method wrong? Data created, methods. Is it not methods? Methods, right? Yeah, methods, and then you same the name method, and then you use it like that, right? Click. Okay, so what are we missing here? There's a method named accept topic, function topic. It's on the methods object. And then up here we're calling accept topic. So I don't know why it's not working. To be honest with you. Oops, I refreshed the wrong thing. So accept. Why is accept topic not a function? Anybody? Anybody following along and have any idea what's going on here? Okay, what am I doing? Admin dashboard, export default, methods, user dashboard, export default, methods. There's a method named vote for, there's a method named accept topic. These are both objects that contain keyed things, and the key is the method that becomes available on the scope. And then you use it by in the template somewhere saying @click equals whatever. And then here we say @click equals whatever. The only difference that I can see going on here is that this one has .prevent. If the fact that it doesn't have prevent on it is what the problem is, that sounds very broken to me, but let's just try it and see if that fixes it, just in case. Nope. All right, so I'm lost. I actually have no idea why accept topic is not being shown as a function, because I'm defining it here in the methods array, and I don't even know. So there's oh, you know what? I'm not getting, that's a problem. I have, yeah, it might be. It's because I have do not disturb turned off, and so I'm not getting my errors from Gulp. So I wasn't seeing the error. It might have been the trailing comma. I never remember when things are going to run into issues with the trailing comma or not. So let's try a new one without the trailing comma, see if that fixes it. Nope, we're still having that same problem. So admin dashboard of Vue 1664 will parse in the file. Line 16 is going to be the 16th line in the script, which unexpected. Man, what is going on here? It's so hard to read these things. There's probably some better way to kind of get this out. Let's see if anybody. I am using Laravel Elixir. You can use SCSS. Oh, variables. I have no idea. That's a good question. I don't know if you can. There's got to be an easier way to debug these, but basically what I do is I count down 16 lines and then figure out where column 64 is. And so I think this would be line 1. I haven't actually followed exactly how it works. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. But there's not 64 characters in this line, so I'm getting a little bit lost here. We're trying to find my that thing in where Sublime Text shows you what column you're on, but I think it's because I've zoomed in so much it's not showing it anymore. So okay, my guess is it's something I did something wrong in here. So let's take a look at it real quick. Oh, This is why, because you can't have, see, it's the PHP JavaScript issue. This is an array, not an object, but then I did a key and a value. You can't do that in JavaScript. You can in PHP. That is how you do it in JavaScript. Surprise. Comment at the end of the function definition. I'm not sure, but hi, Larry. Try it. There we go. That's what it was. So yeah, it was the fact that anytime you've got key value, you have to use the curly braces. You can only use the square braces when you're doing what in PHP would be a non-associative array. But it's because PHP now has the whole square value syntax that I just always mix it up. So try to see if I've been DM'd. Oh, I have been DM'd, so we're going to ensure that this thing works, and then it's time to go. So in theory, once I hit accept on one of these, it's going to say success here, and then it's going to disappear from this list. So let's hit accept. Success. Hopefully it's now going to disappear when I refresh. Great, it's working. So of course, the next steps are going to be to make this actually look good, to make it live refresh the suggested topics list, or the unflagged topics list, and to start build out this admin dashboard to a place where it's actually useful. But I have to go to another meeting, so thank you all for tuning in. We made it with 23% battery to spare, and I'll be putting this up on YouTube afterwards.